Welcome to your latest Nottingham Forest news. Coming up on today's episode, Forest place a bid, yes, for a new striker. Forest will fight Wolves for the signing of Andre. Gimenez rejects Forest, but some journalists have it as still on. All this and plenty more coming up today on your latest Forest news. Let's get into it. Good morning, good evening, or good night. Hope you guys are doing well. And how is your patience right now with this transfer window? Coming up, we got so much news to tell you about. It's been a few literally hours since we made the last update for you. So if you're enjoying the content, if you're keeping up with it, let me know by hitting that like button. Subscribe to Forest Fan TV if you are new. And you know the drill. If you need a VPN to get access to more shows and films on Netflix, then get yourself Surfshark using code FFTV. Get an extra 4 months off and over 80% off. Okay, let's get started. Well, let me know in the comments below. What's your fatigue level with this transfer window? Mine's right up there right now. And honestly, it's all centering around Gimenez. Now, Forest have made a bid for a new striker. But before I can tell you about that, I need to give you the background on Gimenez. So, it came out late last night. John Percy updated his original post in the Telegraph to say that Gimenez has rejected Nottingham Forest. Basically, he doesn't want to come. Whatever money Forest want to throw at it, he's had a change of mind. Is he using Forest to then play us off someone else or to get himself another contract? I don't know. At this stage, I don't actually care. I'm done with Gimenez. You know, the fun's gone out of it. It's just enough is enough. Enough is enough for me. And then when I thought, okay, I can make my peace with it, Fraser tweets out, and he says, deal now comes down to Gimenez. Green light has been given for the move. So basically, Feyenoord have accepted the offer from Forest. Nottingham Forest trying to get it secured. So basically, kind of they're saying the same thing, but one's going further than the other in different directions. So Fraser's saying that the bid's been accepted, and it's up to Gimenez now, whereas Percy's saying nothing on the bid being accepted or not, and saying that he's rejected. But either way, I need to tell you guys that, and I promise I don't want to talk much longer about Gimenez. I'm sick of him, because that's what you need to know to why Forest have now made a new bid for a guy called Pedro. And this is a 27, 28-year-old striker out in Brazil, and I don't know if he's the right fit. It kind of reminds me of a Cavani, maybe a little Ibrahimovic in him as well. He's very over flamboyant in the way he plays football. Like, everything's got to be over egged. He's like the striker version of Morgan Gibbs White, but taken like to the nuclear level on what he does with his flicks and tricks. Yes, he's good in front of goal. I don't think he's particularly quick, but I think his link-up play is very good. And he would suit a Nuno system where he would be that middle point that would release the wingers and link up the play, which is something I told you guys about that was a weak point for Gimenez. Now, in front of goal, it's hard to judge because it's in the Brazilian league, but he's got a decent-ish scoring record. So he plays for Flamengo. I can never pronounce the Brazilian teams. You guys will correct me in the comments below. 185 appearances and 87 goals. So, you know, for where he is and what he's doing, he's scored a lot of goals. Now, he's been to a few clubs before that. But the thing I want to bring to your attention, and this is what's putting me off him, if I'm honest with you, is his injury record. Now, he's currently out injured with a suspected hamstring injury. Now, he's meant to be back in the next couple of days, according to one of the fans that told me on Twitter. I don't know that for sure. But he's had a hamstring injury that kept him out for 7 days in last season. He was out for 40 days with a thigh problem in the 19-20 season. And in 18-19, he was out for over 200 days with a cruciate ligament tear. So he is injury prone. And right now, as things stand at the point of recording this video, he's out with either a hamstring or a thigh strain, something like that. So that does set off an initial alarm bell to me. But it hasn't for Forest. I really hope they've done their research on the injury, because what they've done now is actually put and submitted a bid in for him. Now, the details of the bid, let me just bring that up for you. So much information. Is £17 million, about 20 million euros. And Forest are willing to push that up to 20 million. Now, this is where it gets a little funny for me. This is reports coming out from Brazil. They're big sourced, outlets there. Why, if it's true, would Forest be saying, here's our initial bid of 20 million euros. If you reject it, we'll give you 25. That would be the stupidest negotiation tactics I've ever heard of. Therefore, I kind of take a level off the believability of the details of this. I'm not saying Forest haven't bid for him, because it's all over the place right now. And I just think it's probably too much money. I don't know. He's not a player that has caught my eye. And what I remember of seeing of him was that it was just too much. It was too much flares and tricks, and he's not quick enough. And I like a quicker striker. But remember, Nuno tends to play with a slightly slower striker to build that system that allows the wingers to do a lot of the attacking work. So that's the update on the strikers. But there's more to come. Let's move on to the next item. Okay, so let's move on to this link for the Fluminense player, Andre the Giant. And he is far from a giant. He's not very big, but he's very stocky and very strong. For me, he's a CDM. And he reminds me of Alan, the one who used to play for Napoli and Everton. But more the Napoli side of it, because he wasn't very good at Everton. You could also say he's got a lot of Dominguez's traits, where he's busy, gets around the midfield, really strong in the tackle. And that's probably also his biggest weakness, is he goes in for too many tackles. The ones that aren't in his favor, he'll still go in for, kind of thing. And his disciplinary record isn't going to be that great, especially at the pace of the Premier League. But he can play CM as well, but he's not an adventurous midfielder. And I do quite like that. He will dominate that midfield area. He's good at passing. Again, we're talking about this kind of within perspective of the Brazilian league. And all around, he's like, you could say there's some Kante in him as well. That type of player that is very busy in the middle of the park, winning the ball, distributing it, turning it around. So there's two ways you could use him. You could use him as Sangare's deputy while he still gets up to speed, or you could use him as potentially a double pivot, as almost 2 6s alongside Sangare, and maybe freeing up Sangare to get a little further forward, which is his natural game as well, where he doesn't just like to sit in front of the back four, whereas Andre the non-giant does like to do that. And also aerially, not too bad, but obviously he has the slight disadvantage with his height. Now, his valuation is about 25 million euros, so you're looking at about 20 million pounds. Whether or not Fluminense are willing to let him go for that price, we will have to wait and see. And it's not just Forest who are interested in him, it's Wolves as well. So Forest will be going heads up with Wolves this weekend and heads up with them on the transfer window if this indeed does develop. And in terms of age, he's nice and young at 23. Now, again, you would say someone coming out of the Brazilian league, you would expect them to move slightly earlier, usually by 21. If they're going to make it, they've moved on. But this isn't that glamour position. So that's probably why a move like that for me hasn't been made. But I do like him. I think he would be perfect as a deputy for Sangare. And in those tough matches where we're playing one of the, top 3 or 4 teams, and you want to really lock that midfield down, he's got the energy to work alongside a Sangare or whoever it might be within that midfield. So I am actually really pro this one, and it makes logical sense because we still do need cover in that CDM position. But the discipline side of things does worry me. So get your thoughts in. If you've seen him play, if you like him, whatever, let me know in the comments down below. Now, I just want to go back to the strikers again. I'm sorry to do this to you guys. Like, if you're sick of the strikers, just turn off the video now. I wouldn't blame you. But some people are trying to call this out as a ploy, that Forest are bidding for Pedro to scare Gimenez into coming. I don't see it like that, to be honest. I think that Gimenez one is probably done and dusted. And to be honest, if he comes, do I even want him now, knowing that I know he's so hesitant about coming to Forest? I've seen a few comments and things in the YouTube videos saying, well, chuck a couple more million at him. That will get him over the line. Let's just be done with it. I don't really think it's a monetary issue right now because Forest are offering him more than he's currently on at Feyenoord. I think this is about where he thinks his career needs to go. So that hopefully is the last time we talk about Gimenez. I will give you guys that semi-pledge, unless of course it redevelops, unless of course he suddenly has a change of heart. Remember, we saw this last year with Sangare. There was the whole, does he want to come, doesn't he want to come, can Forest get it over the line, can't they? So there's probably still a few more twists and turns to go in this transfer window, but Forest are in for another striker. I'm not saying he's not good enough, by the way. It's his injury record that worries me, and he would have to knuckle down and not flare it up so much on the pitch. But I think if we go Brazil, you've got to go for a younger profile player. Get your thoughts in down below. If you enjoyed the content, please don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to Forest Fan TV if you are new. We'll see you no doubt when Forest have bidded for another 4 players in the next hour. See you then. Come on, you Reds.